Pane premierze, thank you very much for making the time to talk to us. How do you explain the surprisingly good results Karol Nawrocki had at the first round of the presidential election in Poland? And do you think he's going to win this Sunday?
Well, thanks for having me first. And of course, I do believe he's going to win on Sunday. And you asked me a very specific question, and which might be also the key to the success next Sunday, which is that most of the polls were not giving him as good a result in the first round as he could have achieved, which means that most likely there is a group of people who are scared, who are so much threatened by this de facto post-communist government, which is breaking any rules, which is not sticking to constitution and so on. So this is why I believe that the unexpectedly good result from the first round is a good prognosis and a sign for the second round and for the presidential election on Sunday.
What do you think about the ways the Polish left had tried to discredit Karol Nawrocki with the Jerzy Z affair and with his allegations about prostitution? What do you think about these?
I have never seen such a completely out of touch allegations, lies all over the place, and the whole engine of state and Brussels, and money from Joe Biden's USAID, and the money from National Endowment for Democracy, and from Soros Foundation, all of those came to Poland and supported foundations and associations which have prepared a so-called campaign enhancing the level of turnout. But in particular, they are attacking Nawrocki. They are attacking our candidate, the candidate from Konfederacja as well, because they are very unhappy that Konfederacja and Law and Justice together, even today, we could form a government where there are presidential, parliamentary elections. So all in all, you have the whole mechanism of a state and secret service and press supported from Brussels and von der Leyen, all of those supporting leftist liberal candidate, which is completely immersed in the madness of genderism, madness of Green Deal, illegal migration distributed all over Europe, including Poland and Germany. And Karol Nawrocki is the opposite to this. So he is hated by the Brazilian elites, of course, and he is hated by leftists and liberal elites from Warsaw.
The Tusk government has launched a massive attack on Polish-Hungarian relations by closing the Polish arm of the Václav Felczak Foundation, by trying to isolate the Hungarian ambassador István Igyártó during the Polish EU presidency. Why do you think they are doing this?
Because they are executing the orders or requests coming from Germany and from Brussels. When I was Prime Minister, and by the way, Prime Minister Babiš was Prime Minister, and Prime Minister Orban and Prime Minister Pellegrini, the four of us came from different political families, but the four of us were actually very strongly coordinating. We were strongly coordinating our policy. And it was thanks to our coordination in June 2018, when we would have rejected the migration pact back then. Illegal migration distributed was already on the table. And since then, for 5.5 years, till the end of my government, no illegal migration distribution rules were imposed. 1 week after the Prime Minister took from me the Prime Minister office, he actually de facto accepted the migration pact. He also accepted the mad directives of the Green Deal, and Rafał Trzaskowski, which is his puppet, the puppet of Tusk, is needed for Tusk to actually sign every bill, every legislation in Poland. And this is why there is such a fierce attack. I've never seen anything like that since the communist era, since the 1980s, when I was a freedom fighter in the Solidarity movement, and I was attacked. Many of my friends were attacked in a similar way. And the level of hatred, the level of lies in the in 90% of media, which is controlled by Tusk and by German media, Ringer, Axel Springer, Honest in particular, it's absolutely incredible.
So Poland has posted one of the best GDP growth numbers in the European Union in the first quarter of 2025. Many people think here in Hungary that there is an economic wonder going on in Poland. Do you agree?
Well, we would have realized and registered phenomenal results during my government, and anybody can check it, Poland vis-a-vis the rest of the European Union. But what is happening right now, the new government is creating a pile of debt which the next generations are going to repay. I can give you an example. At the beginning of 2015, when we have taken over from Tusk, the level of debt to GDP was 52%. After 8 years of my government and law and justice government, the level of debt was 49%. So it dropped by 3 percentage points, despite huge social expenditures, the solidarity type of expenditures, defense-related expenditures, and huge reduction of tax rates. Now, after 2 years of this government, they have actually cut the programs, like the solidarity type programs for municipalities, and they have increased the public debt from 49 to 59%. So even if there is a relatively good GDP growth this year, it is not a healthy GDP growth because it's based on huge pile of debt which Prime Minister Tusk is taking and borrowing from the financial markets and making Poland more and more dependent on the financial markets.
Why do they need so much debt when they are also being helped massively by the EU funds that were withheld from your government by Ursula von der Leyen and the European Commission?
Because, first of all, they have not been given those money which they were promised to receive, and which they promised to the public opinion to get from Brussels. That's number one. And second, this is because they cannot manage public finances. That's so easy and so simple to look through if you look at data, financial data, budgetary data, budget deficit, where money goes, how they are unable to retrieve taxes to build the tax base, so to say. That's the public finances. But the second element is managing the economy. It's the investment policy, business-related regulations. It's the level of red tape which they are introducing. Even if they claim to reduce, to deregulate, they actually have re-regulated the economy. So they are introducing another layer of bureaucracy on the burden of our entrepreneurs, which is the Schumpeterian effect on the economy, negative Schumpeterian effect on the economy. So a combination of different factors I could explain for hours here, it contributed to this relatively strong GDP growth, but based on a pile of debt, pile of loans taken from different jurisdictions.
Looking back, do you think the rule of law procedures against Poland back in the time of your government were about rule of law? Or do you think they had some kind of other goal?
Well, there was one goal, to actually fight with my government, to actually eliminate patriotic, sovereignist, conservative Republican Party. But after close to 2 years after the elections, this autumn, our party is very strong in the polls, and we potentially might have an ally. Of course, if the other party, which is Konfederacja, agrees, they are also strong. They are independent, completely independent. They have a different approach to us, but they are also right-wing party. They don't like leftist liberal agenda of migration pact, wokeism, the Green Deal, which has been adopted by the Brusselian elites, and there are lots of common denominators, common programs between the two of us. So I do believe that sooner or rather than later, this government will fall.
Poland, both under your leadership and under the leadership of Prime Minister Tusk, has always been a very strong advocate for help and support to Ukraine. Do you have hope that through the peace efforts of President Donald Trump, there could be peace in Ukraine this year?
Okay, first of all, if not the United States support, there would not be sovereign Ukraine anymore. So the Ukrainian government and presidents of Ukraine do know that the United States are absolutely critical for stopping war. And that's comment number one. Comment number two is, of course, we would wish to have peace as quickly as possible, but not peace at the cost of Russia completely dominating Ukraine, because nobody in Central Europe, and even nobody in Turkey, nobody in Scandinavia wants victorious Russia. Russia is a big country, strong country. Everybody understands that this is a superpower, but nobody in Poland, and I hope nobody in Central Europe, wants victorious Russia.
Pane premiére, děkuji mnohokrát.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.